pharmacists, healthcare professionals, we have so much responsibility placed on us, and our careers are, dedicated to serving others and serving our patients. And sometimes I'm a busy mom of three. I don't get that opportunity, even on vacation, to kind of take that time off for myself and rest and recharge. And I think I've heard many pharmacists say they feel like they're not even doing vacation right when they go on vacation, because it's so difficult to completely unplug. Luckily, if you go to a place as remote as the Galapagos, it's not that difficult to unplug. But we do have intentional time to try to be really present, try to interact with the wildlife.
Welcome to the Pharmacy Quality Solutions Quality Corner Show. Buckle up and put your thinking cap on. The Quality Corner Show starts now.
Welcome everyone to the PQS Quality Corner Show. On today's episode, we want to take a closer look at our pharmacists and healthcare providers' health. Let's talk about how pharmacists and providers can recharge, take time to disconnect from the busy workday, and how to refocus your energy. I am your host, Nick Dorich, and I'm happy to have on the show today my PQS colleague, Blair Thielemier, who recently returned from a trip with fellow healthcare professionals. Blair, welcome back to the show, actually, and I'm excited to talk to you and to learn more about this excursion and the Healing Medicine Retreat.
Thank you so much for having me. Yes, I'm very excited to share more about my love for the Galapagos Islands.
Excellent. Now, this for me is a really exciting podcast video, an item for us to go through. Blair is a new member to the PQS team. I think for those listening have seen her been introduced, but we've had Blair on the podcast previously as we've gone through some pharmacy engagement. And actually one of my very first podcasts or videos that I did, my early days at PQS, was actually as a guest on Blair's podcast. So some things here, as the world continues to turn and change, we get to be reconnected with some folks that we worked with in prior roles. And this is something I'm really excited to hear about with Blair. Blair shared a lot of her stories with our team internally at PQS, and it was an idea that we thought was pretty cool and should help refocus and share how we can really be the best pharmacists, be the best healthcare providers that we can. And sometimes the best way to do that is to take time to slow down, take some time to focus on ourselves so that we can be our best selves when we're re-engaging. So Blair, with that, I'm going to go ahead and we'll jump into our questions. And really, first and foremost, we got to hear a little bit about, what this trip is, understanding, how this trip came about and how it got pulled together.
Yeah, absolutely. So, thank you for having me here on the Quality Corner Show. I think quality of life is a definitely something that affects the way that we live and work. So I did just return from a 9-day trip, leading a group of 12 healthcare professionals through Ecuador to the Galapagos Islands. And that really came about. I had visited this magical place in October of 2024. And I had done it as part of a liveaboard boat going to some of the islands and things. I absolutely fell in love. So the Galapagos Islands have been on my list as a child. It was something that learning about Charles Darwin and the theory of evolution, I'm a science kid, so it is something that has sparked my imagination since childhood and has always been a bucket list, trip for me. I did join the liveaboard excursion because looking into the level of planning, licenses, permits, all of the things you need to be able to access the Galapagos National Park was overwhelming for me. So after attending that in 2024, I really realized and had many people asking me how I did it and how that travel took place. And so it really came about from, the idea that my network was asking me how they could travel there as well. And for me, being able to make those contacts with local guides and local tour operators to be able to offer a land-based activity because I, like Charles Darwin, was seasick the entire time I was on the liveaboard ship, the cruise ship last time I was there. So a lot less nausea this time, and a lot more getting to have some downtime and really experience the local culture as well as the just amazing animal and marine diversity there.
I think, Blair, the part that's really interesting for me is with this trip, and as you and the group are leading this event for other healthcare, and it is intended for healthcare providers. Really, the intent is, I think it's a kind of returning to self and returning to kind of a normal. We all work in healthcare where it is very busy, it is very fast paced, it is very hectic, and there's a lot that's demanded of us. But with this experience, I think really the only thing that's demanded or expected for the people attending, and this is where I'd like you to expand on it, is really just to show up, to be present, and to enjoy just the people and the nature that's around you in a way, just to kind of rediscover yourself. Do I have that right? What do you say?
Yeah, absolutely. And, pharmacists, healthcare professionals, we have so much responsibility placed on us, and our careers are, dedicated to serving others and serving our patients. And, sometimes I'm a busy mom of three. I don't get that opportunity, even on vacation, to kind of take that time off for myself and rest and recharge. And, I think I've heard many pharmacists say they feel like they're not even doing vacation right when they go on vacation because it's so difficult to completely unplug. Luckily, if you go to a place as remote as the Galapagos, it's not that difficult to unplug. But we do have intentional time to try to be really present, try to interact with the wildlife. I remember there was one excursion on a day that we were on the yacht, and we went to a sea lion colony, and we were able to snorkel with these sea lions. And the guide explained that the sea lions they wouldn't touch you, but they would swim up kind of in your face just to get a reaction from you.
Experience.
Right. And that would spark your heart rate. And they were able to sense that change in the electromagnetic. So I really believe that healing medicine can be different things to different people. It can be laughter and dancing with friends. It can be, an interaction like that with wildlife, or spending time, quiet time in nature. And when we built out this itinerary, I really wanted our guests to be able to leave all of the baggage, the mom, the pharmacist, the husband, all of those identity labels behind, and be able to just be yourself and to enjoy and have that chance to feel really totally taken care of and very, very safe and cared for in this environment that is so special. One of the most new and interesting environments on the planet.
Very much sounds like an experience where, in order to help others, and that's what we as healthcare providers are, we are helpers. In order to help others, we need to help ourselves, take some time to help ourselves. Now, Blair, it does bring me to my next question, or my next thought for you. With this experience you talked about, it's a lot about unplugging and getting to have the experience while you were there and being present. What about when folks have gone home or have gone back to their routine day, whether it's life at home or their day in the job? Have you had any, experiences or feedback, positive feedback or other remarks from some of the people that were on this trip to say that how this impacted them in a way in their daily life that they weren't expecting?
Yeah, absolutely. So, all of our healing medicine retreat itineraries have been focused around health. So we have very active itineraries that you I told people before they come, the Galapagos is not something you want to wait until, you're not in the greatest shape. Don't wait
Yeah.
till you're older to go do some of these excursions, especially to a remote place like the Galapagos, because it's very physically demanding. So prior to the trip, we had kind of set a goal. And I set a goal for myself to walk 5,000 steps a day in order to prepare my body for the type of movement that would be happening there. We also spent time, set aside time for yoga and meditation. We had really um, you know, high vitality foods. So a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables that were grown there locally, not in Galapagos, in Ecuador, mainland, that we had flown out to the island for our private chef to serve to us. So there was the experience of getting to try new foods and there was one in particular that she was very concerned because she had gluten and dairy allergies. And she said in the past, she would have felt like a people pleaser and said, "Oh no, you don't have to make a special fuss for me or whatever." But the way that we have really designed these itineraries is to be able to customize, meal plans and things for people so that they don't feel like they have to cheat on their vacation. And in the other way, to maybe inspire them to try foods and flavors and exercise and things that they wouldn't have necessarily tried in their day-to-day life that they can then integrate into their life after they come back, that they do want to hold on to and can bring that value and that quality of life into their day-to-day, long after returning from the trip.
Very much a variety is the spice of life sort of situation.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you shared it where it's the first time you're experiencing something new. It's more exciting, it's more exhilarating. But we can weave these components from a trip, and what we bring back, how it changes can certainly be weaved into what our current existence is. Blair, the next question, I was thinking about as you're sharing, some of these stories. This is very much a unique trip and a unique experience with a lot of other healthcare providers. Was that part of the intention, for the group, in being able to have people that are, coming from different pharmacy or different healthcare practices? I'm sure you've got folks that work in community, folks that work in hospital, and a variety of different experiences. Was there also some identification of, shared experience, shared stresses, and identification that yes, our lives, even though we may be in separate sectors of healthcare, are more similar? And how did that impact the trip?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I think, these trips were really born out of my own personal network and people that have followed me on LinkedIn and have followed my journey. I've always loved to travel, really been focused on travel, to South America, been to Ecuador now 3 times. And this was something that a lot of people were telling me they'd never left the country before, or they didn't speak Spanish, or that they would love to go on a trip like this, but aren't really sure how to navigate it, personally. And they also didn't want to sign up for a trip with a bunch of random strangers.
Yeah.
Right. So the healthcare professionals just kind of naturally came out of my personal network. The hesitancy, I think, around going on a group trip is if you don't have some thread that binds, some like-mindedness, then you can really, you may be on a trip with people that they want to stay out late and go party. That's fine, but that's not the trip that we necessarily designed for this particular group. So the way that you want to travel is really more important than what industry you're in, or your age, or your marital status. So we also had a combination of couples as well as solo travelers on this trip. And we were able, because we stay in a private villa and we do all private guides and private excursions, to accommodate that. So the whether you're a pharmacist, we also had speech therapists. We did have an attorney. We had one attorney on the team, that she was sister to one of the pharmacists who joined us. But I think the idea was professional, like-minded people that were looking for the same type of experience. And this is why I have one-on-one calls with every single one of our retreat guests, to make sure that the energy and the expectations of the group and the group dynamic are really considered, so that everyone can feel like they are able to participate in the group, and that, even if you're a solo traveler, that the group dynamic, and that you can fit in with a group of people that you are going to have things in common with, just by the nature of your profession.
So I got just a couple last questions for you, Blair. And I'll try to do these kind of rapid fire as we finalize this podcast. What do you think, or what do you hope that your companions on this trip, what do you hope that they get out of this trip the most?
Ooh, I hope that it inspires them to travel more. So I hope that they get bitten by the bug and are inspired to put that next date on their calendar. So, I say we all need something to look forward to in the future. So I guess that would be my main thing, is to be inspired to put that next thing on the calendar that they have to look forward to.
Yeah. And then the next question, for those pharmacists, for those healthcare providers that may be a little reluctant to, step away from the busyness, and certainly it can be a lot to take time out and away, or with trying to coordinate with kids or travel cost. There's a lot there, but I think, this trip is certainly one way that this can be done, but it can be done and managed in a lot of other ways. What would be your push to pharmacists and to healthcare providers to just go and try it, see how it goes, and see what happens to them on the other side?
Yeah, absolutely. So we really try to build the packages and the itinerary, so you know exactly how much it's going to cost. You can plan ahead. So we're already putting our groups together for November 2026 and April 2027. So you'll have plenty of time to ask for PTO or find a babysitter, or do what you need to do in order to really create that space in your life for 9 days that you will remember your whole life. The memories of Galapagos, I mean, it's just such a magical place, and a very special place on Earth that not many people get to visit. So if it is something that's on your bucket list, and you really want to make that happen, would love to get in touch to explain a little bit more about what that could look like.
With that, Blair, final question. How do folks find out more information? Where can they, reach out? Where can they connect with you to find out more information about this? I know you'll be sharing some of it, and you've already been sharing some of this on LinkedIn, online, but where can folks connect with you?
Yeah. LinkedIn is probably the best place to find me. Blair Thielemier is the easiest way to get in contact with me there. Send me a private message. I can respond there and share some more itinerary details, and I would be happy to even set up a Zoom call if you're interested in what exactly that would look like, and detailed day-to-day of what the excursions would be.
Excellent. Well, fantastic, Blair. Thank you for sharing, your story, your experience. I know you really caught the imagination and the interest of a lot of team members here at PQS. And as you shared just from the experience, that this wasn't just a vacation, that this was a reset. This was something to bring out the best in you and the best in everyone that was on that sort of trip. So that's not often how folks look at or think about, how they're spending their vacation time and their PTO, but something that was really exciting for here and definitely pulled on the heartstrings and definitely caught the imagination for a lot of our team members. So thank you for sharing the story. Thank you for sharing what you got out of it. And with that, we will wrap up our conversation. So thank you, Blair, again for joining us, and thank you for our listeners for joining and listening into this conversation. We thank you for your work in your community. Thanks for taking a break to listen to our show, the Quality Corner Show. We hope you get inspired and that you take the initiative to get yourself some much needed rest and relaxation in the near future too. We want to thank you for joining us. We hope you join us for the next episode of the Quality Corner Show. And before we go, we have one final message from the PQS team.
Pharmacy Quality Solutions Quality Corner Show has a request for you. Our goal is to spread the word about how quality measurement can help improve health outcomes, and we need your help in sharing this podcast to friends and colleagues in the healthcare industry. We also want you to provide feedback, ask us questions, and suggest health topics you'd like to see covered. If you are a health expert and you want to contribute to the show or even talk on the show, please contact us. You can email info@pharmacyquality.com. Let us know what is on your mind, what we can address so that you are fully informed. We want you to be able to provide the best care for your patients and members, and we wish all of you listeners out there well.